All right, get ready to dive deep because today we're tackling the exciting world of real estate flipping. You know, those incredible transformations you see on TV where they take a tired old house and turn it into a dream home, raking in some serious cash along the way.
Exactly. But today we're going to go beyond the surface, past the glitz and glam, and uncover the real strategies and honestly the hard work that goes into making a successful flip. You've gathered some excellent resources that really focus on the fix and flip approach,
Yeah.
which is perfect for those just starting out in the flipping game.
Okay, perfect. So for our listeners who might be brand new to this, can we get a quick rundown of what fix and flip really means?
Basically, it's about buying a property that needs some TLC. Maybe it's outdated, maybe it's seen better days and needs some serious repairs, then renovating it strategically to boost its value and ultimately selling it for a profit.
And what's cool is that while we'll be drawing on examples from places like the US, the UK, and Australia, a lot of what we're talking about applies pretty much anywhere.
You got it. The core principles of finding a good deal, really understanding your market, and making smart choices when it comes to renovations, those are universal.
So before we even think about house hunting, what's the most important thing a future flipper needs to do to get started?
Preparation is key, and that begins with becoming a true market expert in your chosen area. You have to do your homework.
So you're talking about knowing things like whether home prices are going up or down, or certain neighborhoods are suddenly becoming the place to be.
Exactly. But you also need to grasp what's driving those trends. Is it urbanization, with everyone wanting to live in the heart of city? Is it gentrification, where older neighborhoods are getting a makeover? Even things like new infrastructure projects can be a sign of big changes to come.
One of the sources we have actually had this great example. Imagine you find a property that's a steal right now because it's a little out of the way, but there's a brand new subway line planned nearby. Suddenly, in a few years, that inconvenient location becomes prime real estate.
That's the kind of foresight you need to develop as a flipper. It's not just about finding a house that's seen better days, it's about understanding the bigger picture that makes a location truly profitable.
All right, so we've got market knowledge checked off the list. What's the next big hurdle for someone looking to flip houses, especially for those just starting out?
Well, let's be real. Money talks. Getting the right financing is critical, and it's often where people hit a wall.
Because traditional bank loans are just too slow for the fast-paced world of flipping, right?
Often that's the issue. Banks can take their time, and flipping demands quick access to cash. That's why many flippers turn to alternative sources like hard money loans or private lenders.
But I'm guessing there's a catch, right?
Yeah, there is. These loans come with higher interest rates, so that speed comes at a price. One source gave a really eye-opening example. Let's say you borrow $200,000 for your flip at a 12% interest rate, which isn't unusual for these types of loans. If your project takes 6 months to finish, you're already out about $12,000 just in interest.
Wow, that puts the pressure on to make smart and efficient choices when it comes to renovations.
For sure. And this is where having a solid team becomes absolutely crucial.
So we're talking about finding a reliable contractor, a real estate agent who knows their stuff. What else should we be thinking about?
Don't underestimate the value of a good mentor, someone who's already been there and done that in the flipping world. Just imagine you've found this amazing 1970s house in, let's say, a hot market like Los Angeles. Do you go for a simple $15,000 kitchen update or splurge on a full $40,000 remodel?
That's a tough one. I know I'd want some expert opinions before spending that kind of money.
Exactly. Your contractor can tell you what's possible, your agent knows what buyers are looking for in that market, and a seasoned mentor. They can give you those golden nuggets of wisdom from their own wins, and let's be honest, probably some good lessons learned stories too.
All right, so we've got our financing in place, our team assembled. Sounds like it's time for the fun part, finding the perfect property.
The hunt is on. But keep in mind the golden rule of flipping. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell.
So the key is finding a property that's priced below market value.
It's absolutely crucial. One way to do this is by looking for motivated sellers. These are folks who need to sell quickly, maybe due to foreclosure, inheriting a property they need to offload, or a job relocation.
So they're more likely to take a lower offer because they need to sell fast.
Exactly. The MLS, auction sites, even just networking can help you find these golden opportunities. Remember, it's not just about the house's current state, but its potential and the seller's circumstances.
Okay, let's say we found a property that looks promising. Time to talk numbers. What's the first calculation a flipper should make?
The 70% rule is a great starting point to figure out your maximum offer.
For those of us who aren't real estate gurus, can you break down that rule for us?
Sure. It means you should aim to pay no more than 70% of the property's after repair value, or ARV for short, minus your estimated renovation costs.
So let's say we have a house with an ARV of $300,000, and we figure it needs about $50,000 in repairs.
In that case, the 70% rule suggests your max offer should be around $160,000. This gives you a buffer, helps ensure a healthy profit margin, even if you run into unexpected costs.
Makes sense. But speaking of unexpected costs, how do you plan for those inevitable surprises that pop up when you're renovating an older house? Like discovering a major issue hiding behind those charming vintage tiles.
That's where your contingency fund comes in, your financial safety net. Most seasoned flippers recommend setting aside 10% to 20% of your budget for those oops moments.
So that contingency fund can mean the difference between a major headache and a minor hiccup in your project.
Exactly. All right, so let's say we've snagged a great property, got our budget sorted, and we're ready to start renovations. But where do you even begin? Do you just go crazy with upgrades? Not quite. It's all about strategic renovations. You want to focus on updates that give you the biggest bang for your buck, the ones that really appeal to buyers.
So you're saying not all renovations are created equal in the eyes of a potential buyer.
You got it. Kitchens and bathrooms are always at the top of a buyer's wish list, so they tend to offer a great return on your investment.
Makes sense. Everyone wants a stunning kitchen and a bathroom that feels like a spa. But what about that first impression a buyer gets? Does curb appeal really matter that much?
Absolutely. Curb appeal is crucial for drawing buyers in. A fresh coat of paint, some landscaping, and a modern front door can make a world of difference.
It's like wrapping a present. You want it to look amazing from the outside.
Exactly. One of our sources had this great case study. They bought a dated house in Austin, Texas for $200,000. They put in $50,000 to modernize the kitchen, update the bathrooms, and install energy-efficient windows, bumping that ARV up to $320,000.
Wow, that's a $120,000 increase.
It shows you the power of smart renovations. Their gross profit would be around $70,000. After you factor in holding costs, agent fees, and taxes, they probably net around $40,000. That's a pretty impressive return for a single flip.
That's incredible. I imagine doing that multiple times a year. It really highlights the potential of flipping for building wealth.
Exactly. And that brings us to the exciting question. What happens when you're ready to take your flipping operation to the next level?
Okay, so you've mastered the single-family flip. What are the options for someone who's ready to scale up?
There are a couple of paths you can take. You could start flipping multiple properties at the same time, which means juggling multiple projects and timelines.
That sounds like it requires some serious organizational skills.
Definitely. Another option is moving on to larger projects, like multifamily homes or even small apartment buildings.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. But probably comes with bigger risks too, right?
That's true. Multifamily properties usually need a larger upfront investment, but the potential for higher returns is definitely there.
Our sources use the example of a 4-unit apartment building in Denver. You might invest, say, $200,000 in renovations, which is a significant chunk of change.
But if you can rent or sell those units at a premium, you're looking at much larger profits compared to flipping a single-family home. It all comes down to understanding the balance between risk and reward.
That's the dream, isn't it? Having passive income flowing in from those rental units while you're out searching for your next project. But let's be real. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in the world of flipping.
You're absolutely right. There are definitely some risks and challenges that come with this kind of investing.
So let's talk about the potential downsides. What are some things that could go wrong, even for experienced flippers?
One of the biggest challenges is how unpredictable the market can be. Things can change quickly, and competition can be fierce, especially in hot markets.
And there's always the risk of those pesky cost overruns, right? Underestimating the scope of your renovations can really eat into your profits.
Exactly. That's why experienced flippers always emphasize having a solid backup plan.
Like what? Selling all your furniture if the project goes south. Just kidding. But seriously, what kind of backup plan are we talking about?
Well, if a property isn't selling as quickly as you hoped, one option is to rent it out temporarily.
Ah, that makes sense. You can generate some income while you wait for the market to recover.
Precisely. It's all about mitigating risk and being prepared for the unexpected.
Now, before we move on, I just want to reiterate that even though our examples have been focused on the U.S., these flipping principles apply anywhere.
Absolutely. Whether you're looking at a fixer-upper in Manchester or Birmingham in the UK, or exploring up-and-coming suburbs in Sydney or Melbourne, the fundamentals are the same.
It's fascinating to see how these trends play out in different parts of the world.
It really is. But regardless of where you are, the key takeaway is to understand those local nuances, the laws, the taxes, and of course what buyers are looking for. That's what separates successful flippers from the rest.
Welcome back to our real estate flipping deep dive. Last time we covered a lot from market research to financing and from finding the right property to making those all-important renovation choices. Yeah, we even crunched some numbers with that 70% rule and talked about those contingency funds for those inevitable surprises when renovating older properties. You know those moments when you open up a wall and find, well, let's just say you're glad you have that extra cash set aside.
Exactly. But before we get too excited about demo day and design choices, we need to talk about a crucial part of flipping the legal and ethical stuff. It's not just about making money, it's about doing it the right way.
Right, because no one wants to end up in some legal battle or even worse with a bad reputation.
Exactly. And one of the most important things to focus on is disclosure. Transparency is key when you're selling a flipped property.
So being upfront with buyers about the work you've done, right? Not trying to hide problems under a fresh coat of paint.
Exactly. You need to disclose all the important facts about the property, including any renovations or repairs permits, you got materials used, and any known defects that you fixed.
It's about building trust with the buyer, right?
Mhm.
No one wants to feel like they're being tricked into buying a money pit.
Exactly. And remember, failing to disclose important facts can come back to bite you legally. It's not worth cutting corners.
So honesty really is the best policy, both ethically and legally.
Absolutely. Another important legal thing is making sure you're following building codes and regulations.
So basically making sure your renovations meet all the safety and quality standards set by your local area.
Exactly. You'll need permits for any major work, and it's super important to make sure all your contractors are licensed and insured.
This really shows how important it is to have a reliable team, right? A contractor who knows the rules and the permit process like the back of their hand.
For sure. Your contractor can be your best friend when it comes to navigating the legal side of renovations. And of course, a knowledgeable real estate agent can help you with those disclosure requirements and make sure you're in compliance.
Okay, so we've covered the legal stuff. Now let's talk about the ethical side of flipping. What are some best practices for flippers who want to do things the right way?
One key principle is fairness. This means pricing your flipped house reasonably based on its market value and the actual improvements you've made.
So not trying to squeeze every last dollar out of the deal just because you put in some sweat equity.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance between making a profit and offering a fair deal to the buyer. A win-win situation.
And a happy buyer is more likely to recommend you to others, which can lead to more business down the road.
Exactly. Building a good reputation is so valuable, especially when you're dealing with repeat buyers or investors.
Another ethical thing that came up in our research is respecting the neighborhood when you're renovating.
That's a great point. While you want to modernize and update a house, you don't want to create something that sticks out like a sore thumb or changes the whole feel of the neighborhood.
So maybe avoid painting that cute Victorian a bright pink, no matter how trendy it might seem.
Probably a good idea. It's about finding that balance between making the property attractive and preserving its charm and the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, we've got the legal and ethical stuff down. Now let's talk about some more advanced strategies that can help flippers make even more money. Our listeners want to level up their game.
One strategy experienced flippers use is forced appreciation. It's a bit more than just doing basic repair.
Okay, I'm all ears. What exactly is forced appreciation?
Basically, it's about strategically adding value to a property through renovations or improvements that really boost its market value beyond just making it livable or up to code.
Well, it's about being smart and choosing upgrades that buyers are willing to pay top dollar for.
Exactly. You're identifying those key upgrades that transform a property from nice to must-have.
Can you give us some examples of how this works in real life?
Let's say you're flipping a house with a tiny, outdated kitchen. By expanding it into another room and adding high-end finishes, you're not just renovating, you're creating a whole new living experience that justifies a higher asking price.
So it's about thinking outside the box, seeing the potential beyond the existing layout, not just fixing what's broken, but making it better than it ever was.
Exactly. Another example might be finishing a basement to add more living space, or turning an attic into a bonus room.
Those are great examples. It's about making the most of the space and creating those wow factors that buyers are looking for. And speaking of maximizing things, what about using financing to boost profits? Is there more to it than just getting that initial loan?
Definitely. One technique is using a line of credit to pay for your renovations.
So instead of getting one big loan up front, you access money as you need it throughout the project.
Exactly. This can help you save on interest and manage your cash flow better, especially if unexpected costs come up.
That makes sense. And what about using leverage to buy multiple properties?
That's another powerful strategy. By using borrowed money to buy properties, you can potentially multiply your returns.
But of course, leverage comes with risks too, right?
Absolutely. You need to really understand your financial situation, how much risk you're comfortable with, and what's happening in the market before borrowing too much.
And remember, markets can change. So you need a plan to manage your debt if things go south. You don't want to be caught off guard.
Speaking of market conditions, let's talk about timing. Knowing when to buy and when to sell is super important for making the most profit.
So it's not just about finding a good deal, it's about finding it at the right time. Easier said than done right.
It takes practice and a good understanding of market trends. You want to buy when the market is slower and prices are lower, and sell when demand is high and buyers are eager.
And how can you get a sense of those market cycles? It feels like you need a crystal ball.
While keeping a close eye on local market trends, inventory levels, and interest rates can give you some clues.
And don't forget about your real estate agent. They're in the market every day and can give you those insider insights to help you time your buying and selling strategically.
They can be your secret weapon when it comes to timing.
Now let's talk about another crucial skill for any successful flipper negotiation. Whether you're dealing with sellers, contractors, or buyers, those negotiation skills can make a huge difference in your profits.
It's the art of the deal. But for those of us who aren't natural negotiators, any tips?
Well, one thing that came up in our research is preparations. Do your research, know your numbers, and have a clear idea of your walkaway point before you even start negotiating.
So knowing your limits and being willing to walk away if a deal isn't good enough.
Exactly. Another important tip is to be respectful and professional, even when you're trying to get a good deal.
It's about building relationships. You never know when you might run into someone again in the real estate world. It's a small world.
That's right. And remember, negotiation is a two-way street. Be willing to listen to the other side and find creative solutions that work for everyone. Sometimes a little compromise goes a long way.
For sure, a successful negotiation is about finding common ground.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this segment, from legal and ethical things to those advanced flipping strategies.
But there's one more important part of flipping. We need to talk about managing your time effectively. This can make or break a project.
Ah, yes, time is money, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
Delays can cost you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flipping involves juggling so many things, from property searches and renovations to marketing and sales. It's like running your own little business.
So any time-saving tips for our busy flippers?
One strategy is to create a detailed schedule for your project and stick to it as much as possible.
So setting deadlines for each step of the way, from demolition to staging.
Exactly. This keeps you accountable and helps you get things done on time, which keeps the project moving forward.
Another helpful tip is delegation. You don't have to do everything yourself.
That's right. Use your team members' expertise and outsource things like marketing or staging to professionals who can do it faster and often better than you can.
This frees you up to focus on your strengths and the parts of the business you really enjoy. It's about working smarter, not harder.
And speaking of enjoying the process, it's important to remember that flipping can be tough, but also really rewarding.
It's all about finding that balance between the hard work and the satisfaction of seeing a project come together.
Exactly. And that feeling of accomplishment when you take a neglected property and turn it into a beautiful, functional home is really special.
All right, flippers, welcome back. It's the final stretch of our real estate deep dive, and we're ready to turn those renovated properties into cold, hard cash.
That's right. It's showtime. Time to talk about marketing your flipped masterpiece and making sure those for sale signs turn into sold signs.
Okay, so we've poured our blood, sweat, and tears, and hopefully not too much of our budget, into transforming these houses. Now, how do we get those eager buyers lining up at the door?
Well, in today's market, you need a multi-pronged approach. We're talking online presence, stunning visuals, and yeah, even some of those tried and true tactics.
All right, let's break it down. Where do we even start?
First impressions are everything, so professional photography is non-negotiable. Those listing photos need to make buyers fall in love instantly.
We're talking high-quality images that show off those amazing kitchens, those spa-like bathrooms, all the work we've put in.
Exactly. Think bright, airy spaces, stylish staging. You want those photos to tell a story, evoke a lifestyle that buyers are craving.
One of our sources even mentioned that virtual tours are becoming a must-have for listings.
Absolutely. Virtual tours let potential buyers walk through the property without even leaving their couch. It's like a 247 open house.
That's genius,
Yeah.
especially for those buyers who might be relocating or have busy schedules. It's such a convenient way to really get a feel for the space.
And speaking of reaching a wider audience, social media is a game changer. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook can be super effective for showcasing your flipped properties.
So we're talking eye-catching visuals, maybe some behind-the-scenes peeks at the renovation process, and targeted ads to reach those buyers who are actively searching for their dream home.
You got it. Social media lets you build excitement, generate buzz around your projects. It's like giving your property its own marketing campaign.
But in the midst of all this digital marketing, we can't forget about the good old-fashioned for sale sign, right?
Absolutely. A well-placed sign can still be a powerful tool, especially for grabbing the attention of local buyers who might be driving through the neighborhood. It's a classic for a reason.
It's all about reaching as many potential buyers as possible, right? Making sure your property is visible.
Now, once you've got their interest and those buyers are coming for viewings, it's time to put those negotiation skills to work.
Time to make some deals. But seriously, what are some important things to keep in mind when we're negotiating with potential buyers?
Confidence is key. You've put your heart and soul into this project, so believe in its worth.
But confidence doesn't mean being inflexible, right? It's about being knowledgeable, prepared, and professional.
Exactly. Be ready to answer any questions about the property, the renovations, the neighborhood. Transparency builds trust with buyers, which is huge when it comes to closing a deal.
And as we talked about before, know your limits. Be ready to walk away if a deal just isn't right for you.
Absolutely. Don't let emotions get in the way. Stick to your numbers and don't be afraid to say no if an offer isn't what you're looking for.
Our sources also talked about being flexible and creative during negotiations. Sometimes, thinking outside the box can lead to a win-win for everyone involved.
That's right. Maybe you're willing to throw in some appliances or help cover those closing costs to sweeten the deal.
Or maybe you're open to a lease-to-own option if a buyer needs a little more time to get their financing sorted out. It's all about finding solutions that work for both sides.
Exactly. A little flexibility can go a long way in getting those signatures on the dotted line.
Now, once you've successfully negotiated a sale, there's one final hurdle: the closing process.
Ah, the finish line is in sight. What are some things flippers should watch out for during this final stage?
Well, first and foremost, make sure all the paperwork is in tip-top shape. That means the purchase agreement, any disclosures, inspection reports, all those important documents.
Having a good real estate attorney on your team is invaluable during closing. They can look over all the paperwork, make sure everything's legally sound, and just guide you through the whole process.
And of course, communication is key. Stay in touch with your buyer, your agent, and your attorney to ensure everyone's on the same page and any issues are addressed quickly.
Exactly. A smooth closing is the culmination of all your hard work, so dot those I's and cross those T's.
Well, listeners, we've reached the end of our real estate flipping journey. We've explored every step of the process, from the initial market research to the thrill of closing that profitable deal.
We've covered strategies for finding those hidden gems, planning smart renovations, navigating the legalities and ethics, and mastering the art of marketing and negotiation.
But remember, flipping isn't just about profits. It's about the challenge, the creativity, and the satisfaction of transforming spaces and creating something truly amazing.
It's about taking a vision and making it a reality, one house at a time.
So as we wrap up this episode, we encourage you to take what you've learned, explore your local market, and maybe even take those first steps towards flipping your own dream property.
Remember, with careful planning, hard work, and a dash of that entrepreneurial spirit, you too can turn flipping into a rewarding and profitable adventure.
That's it for this deep dive into the world of real estate flipping. Thanks for joining us, and happy flipping, everyone.